Okay, so welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Today we are going to be diving into something that feels like it's just everywhere right now.
Yeah, it really does.
This question of like, is monogamy over?
Right.
Like, is it dead?
Big question.
And you guys sent in a script from this show called "Is Monogamy Dead?" And the show very much has some thoughts.
It does.
We're going to be looking at some of these segments from the show, like why we're all toxic,
Yeah.
stat that'll make your grandfather cry,
All right, goodness.
debate nukes marriage,
Gadgy.
and just wonderfully titled Audience's Wildest Date Story.
Can't wait.
So our mission with this is to kind of like really dig into what this show is saying about dating,
Yeah.
Especially in 2024.
Right.
And what it tells us about where we are now with relationships,
Yeah.
but also really importantly without like taking sides.
Right, exactly. I mean, the script is super provocative.
Yeah.
And it's definitely going for the entertainment factor.
Yeah.
But I think it does give us this really interesting, like, snapshot of some of the anxieties that are out there
Absolutely.
about modern relationships and some of the different perspectives. And I think what we want to do is kind of like unpack some of those, even the more extreme things.
Totally.
And see if we can kind of find any like underlying trends,
Right.
shifts in how people are thinking about
Exactly.
commitment and connection these days.
Yeah, like what's really going on.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
Let's jump right into the opening of the show.
Yep.
So host Lexi comes out and she's like talking about all of her matches.
Okay.
Like just tons of matches and like
No.
just not being into being exclusive at all.
Right.
And then Jax, the other host, is like,
Okay.
he kind of has this funny reaction, but it's also a little bit like, whoa.
I see.
And then you get the title card. Dating in 2024. Love or war.
Ooh.
Like they are setting this up as a battle.
Yeah. It definitely frames it
Right.
as this kind of conflict right from the jump.
Yes.
You've got these two different ideas about dating.
Yeah.
What might be considered like the traditional expectations
Well,
versus,
yeah.
maybe a more modern, fluid,
Yeah.
maybe even transactional approach.
Totally.
And Lexi's really embodying that.
Yeah.
And, Jax's reaction,
Yeah.
it's almost like he's standing in for the audience.
Totally.
He's maybe voicing what some people watching are thinking.
Yeah.
But that tagline, love or war, it's really interesting
It's so interesting.
because it makes it seem like
it does.
the search for a connection isn't fun.
No.
It's not exciting. It's like
It's scary.
it's full of potential conflict and disappointment.
Okay, like this whole minefield.
Totally.
And then they go into the first segment,
Okay.
why we're all toxic.
Okay.
And they're using these very specific examples,
Uh-huh.
like ghosting somebody just because you don't like the emoji they use,
Interesting.
getting dumped for laughing at your own joke, and then calling someone out because they Googled your zodiac sign on a date.
Okay.
Like on the surface, it's funny,
Sure.
but these are these tiny little complaints.
Yeah.
You think that points to something bigger about how we're all acting when we're dating?
I think it's really interesting
Yeah.
that they're framing all of these kind of small interactions
Right?
as toxic.
Yeah.
And to me, that maybe says that people are just kind of like more judgy when they're dating now.
Right.
Like there's so much choice out there,
Yeah,
right?
online dating and everything.
Online dating, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe leads to people being less tolerant.
Yeah.
A little awkward thing,
Right.
a little difference.
Yeah, you just move
And
on.
they're just out.
So interesting.
The zodiac thing is interesting too.
What do you think that means?
Well, it seems like people want to just like instantly categorize
Right.
a potential partner. Like they want to know right away,
Understand them. Yeah.
understand them. And I think that might actually prevent people from
Yeah.
forming a deeper connection.
Right. You're not giving them a chance.
Exactly. You're so busy looking for red flags
Yeah.
that you might miss the good stuff.
Totally. Are we just looking for reasons to say no instead
Right.
of yes?
That's a good question.
And then they hit us with the statistic
Okay.
in the next segment, stat that'll make your grandfather cry.
Oh, boy.
They say that 56% of you think monogamy is as realistic as a TikTok influencer's lips.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That is a big number.
Like, that's saying something about how we see,
It is.
these long-term relationships.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, comparing it to something that's seen as so artificial,
Totally.
so unattainable,
Right.
really says a lot about how skeptical people are
Yeah.
about monogamy. Like, it's not even real.
Right.
Maybe it's just the pressure of modern life.
Yeah.
Social media is everywhere.
Right. There are so many options all the time.
Exactly. And with all those options, maybe it just makes it harder
Right.
to stay with just one person.
And then Lexi makes a joke about marriage rates being lower than Jax's credit score.
Oh, my goodness.
It's funny, but it also is like...
It is.
This is kind of where we are.
It is. It's like people are losing faith
Yeah.
in this idea of traditional commitment.
It's not even about wanting it.
Yeah.
It's about whether it's possible.
Exactly.
So then we go to debate Nuke's marriage.
Okay.
And some of these arguments feel like they're just trying to be controversial.
Like what?
Lexi calls weddings a $30K scam.
Wow.
And then she goes on about how annoying it is
Right.
when your partner doesn't empty the dishwasher.
So relatable, though.
I know, right? It's like, that's life.
Yeah, but maybe those little things
I know, maybe that's it.
like build up over time and
Right, and they become the big things.
Exactly.
And then Jax comes in with this like really sincere
Yeah.
point about being afraid to be truly known
Yeah.
by someone and loved, like with all your flaws.
That's powerful.
It is. It's like a real argument for deep commitment.
Yeah.
Maybe even for marriage.
Totally.
I don't know, but then they go on this weird tangent about crying during the Barbie movie. I know it's totally random,
That is out of left field.
but it's kind of funny.
It is. It's
And it just makes it feel like less serious.
more like a conversation.
Exactly. Like they're just people.
Yeah.
And then we get to audience's wildest date story.
Oh, I am ready for this.
Okay, so this one is wild.
Hit me.
This listener at Disaster Dater 69
Okay.
goes on this Tinder date,
Right.
and the person's mom is in the car.
What?
I know, in the car the whole
Yeah.
time for safety.
Oh my gosh.
I know, and then the mom
Okay.
pretends that the date forgot their wallet
No way.
and asks the listener for their credit score.
You have got to be kidding me.
I know the host's reaction is just, what is wrong with people?
That pretty much sums it up.
It's just so crazy.
Beyond it.
What do you think the point is of putting a story like that in?
I think it's like a warning
You okay?
about how strange dating can be.
Yeah, especially online.
Especially online, you just never know.
It's the Wild West out there.
It really is. And even though this is extreme,
Right.
I bet a lot of people have had weird experiences.
Right.
And I think the hosts being so shocked,
Yeah.
it makes you feel like, okay,
You're not alone.
I'm not the only one.
At least it wasn't that bad.
Exactly.
Right. And then at the end,
Right.
they're pushing hard for engagement.
Of course.
It's all share your toxic traits, like follow
Your
a...
social media playbook.
And then it gets intense with comment or you'll die alone.
Whoa.
It's a joke,
Okay.
but also like,
Maybe not.
maybe not.
It's definitely like
It's a lot.
playing on that fear of missing out,
Totally.
which is so common these days.
And it all comes back to that need for connection,
Exactly.
which is the whole thing we're talking about.
All ties together.
Right. So to sum up, okay, we took this deep dive into the Is Monogamy Dead script,
Yeah,
and it was funny, provocative,
definitely.
and maybe even a little scary.
A little bit. Yeah.
But it showed us one perspective on dating in 2024
It did.
and all the challenges people think there are
Yeah.
with monogamy.
And what's interesting
Yeah.
is like this feeling that everything is changing.
Yes.
Like the rules are different now.
Right. The old rules don't apply.
Right. And all those people
Yeah.
saying monogamy isn't even realistic.
Right.
I mean, that says something
It really does.
about how expectations are changing.
Yeah. And the stories they told,
Yeah.
they were extreme. But it shows how messy and confusing dating can be.
For sure.
So for all of you listening,
Yeah.
thinking about everything we just talked about,
Okay.
especially that statistic
Oh, yeah.
about people not believing in monogamy.
Yep.
What do you think is going on?
Yeah.
Is this just entertainment or are things really changing?
Right. Are these big shifts happening?
Exactly. This show,
Yeah.
in its own kind of crazy way,
Yeah, it's over the top.
it gave us a lot to think about
It did.
when it comes to love
For sure.
and commitment.
Yeah.
What does it all mean for you?
Right. What does it mean?
And how you see relationships.